The fact that someone's handcuffed to the bumper of my car and I'm pulling them down the road does not mean they're following me. It just means that I'm compelling them to go where I'm going. You can't just wait for a problem to disappear because it almost never does. The reality is problems go away when problems get solved. Problems that are ignored compound like interest in the bank. And the compounding nature of the problems mean that the impact downstream is intensely more painful to you if you let things go. So you've got to deal with problems when they arise. Instead of the proverbial ostrich with their head in the sand, you've got to face the problems. And you know what? You're not going to have a perfect solution when you first start facing them. Get yourself good counselors, good advisors around you, a good team. And if you are a leader of a team, take your team and engage them on the process and really build an environment of trust where they can engage you openly, where they can really express themselves honestly and have thorough, healthy debate so that you can arrive at a good, solid conclusion and a solution to whatever situation it is that you're facing. Now, what does it take to follow someone or something? An organization, a person, an idea? I would submit to you, it takes trust, right? Would you agree with me that it takes trust to follow someone? You have to trust that. Now, I'm not talking about compulsion where someone is dragging you. Sometimes in the church, we try to drag people behind Jesus. And we think that that's the same as following Jesus. The fact that someone's handcuffed to the bumper of my car and I'm pulling them down the road does not mean they're following me. It just means that I'm compelling them to go where I'm going. The idea of following, the emphasis in the passage is not on the lamb and what he's doing, but on the people and what they're doing. They, with volition, with intention, with choice, with conscious, deliberate action, are choosing where they're going to go. He's not compelling. He's not forcing. Because compulsion and force are contrary to the principles of the kingdom of heaven. And the creation of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and it being placed prominently in the very center of the garden, right next to the tree of life. And the fact that God put it there so that every time they would go eat of the fruit of the tree of life, they would be faced with a choice whether or not to be loyal to God in choosing not to eat the tree that he said to avoid. That was their choice. God didn't make it for them. He didn't compel them. He gave them every incentive to not eat of it. But he also gave them the opportunity to if they chose. And God does that with us. The death of Christ is the greatest evidence that he does not compel. He is it's so foreign to the character of God to compel. That's why he gave himself to die for us, to purchase our freedom eternally, to choose. And to follow someone, it requires trusting them. Now, that trust can be minimal at first, and it usually is, right? But it grows with time, but it's not merely time. Time doesn't make it grow, right? Right? Time doesn't make it happen. There has to be an encounter with the person that you're growing to trust. And that encounter, each different encounter, must confirm they are trustworthy. In order for that trust to grow, it's like putting money in the bank. Every time something happens that confirms their trustworthiness, money is deposited. And every time something happens that confirms they are not trustworthy, a withdrawal takes place. And let me tell you something about trust. It takes a long time to build it, but it can be lost in an instant. It is gained by little drops. It is lost in torrents. They trust that the direction he's going is for their benefit, but not just for their benefit, it's worthwhile. They're going to get something in return for the sacrifice of following and what it costs them that is worth, in fact, greater than what they're giving up in the process of following. It is not selfish to expect a return on the sacrifice we give to God. That's how God wired us. We get so weary of all following God, all the sacrifice. And how long do we do it? 300 years. Maybe Enoch understood something different about what it meant to walk with God than we do today. Maybe by chance, in the church, we have complicated the concept of what it means to walk with God to something that it actually is not. And that we have made it far harder than God ever did. Back in the Garden of Eden again, we talked about this previously. God didn't make it hard to obey. He made it far easier to obey than to not obey. One tree in the middle of the garden, avoid that one. And he filled the garden with every tree that was good to look at, tasted good, and smelled good. And he said, have at it. It's your playground. Go enjoy the world. But avoid this one tree. 10 commandments. These 10 things you avoid. All the rest of the world is yours. Go and enjoy it. God made it easy. It is people that make following God hard. How do you set a culture so that your teammates can push back the people that you're leading or that your colleagues are a part of? There's some simple things for that. One, you have to demonstrate integrity, honesty. Number two, you've got to demonstrate that you actually care about the people that you work around or that you're leading. If they don't trust that you care, they're not going to push back. You should build a team of people that are better than you in a lot of areas so that it can truly function and not be afraid of that. I have always wanted teams around me that I lead of people that are strong personalities, that are not afraid to say no and to challenge and to speak up with their opinion, and so we can have a healthy, strong debate, because that's how you build a good team. But that has to happen by actually calling them out when they treat one another disrespectfully. So you provide an environment where disrespect is not tolerated, where poor productivity or bad character and attitude is not tolerated, and where you are promoting excellence in everything that's done, and where you are actively encouraging the team to be able to speak freely. And you are engaging debate, and you formulate how you lead your meetings in your team in a way that actually is pulling out the conversation with your teammates. That is vitally important, because many people are not going to just tell you what they think, but they have an opinion. And so as you ask them, sometimes you have to have a meeting with them before you walk into the group meeting, just with that person. And you go over some of those issues, and you, in the conversation, you ask their opinion on the particular issue. And on one-on-one, they're more willing to tell you what they think than in the group setting. So then in the group setting, then you can call on people directly. And I've done that many times in meetings, where if someone is being quiet and just listening, I watch the faces and the body language to see what is happening among the people that are a part of the team in the meeting that I'm in. And I would call them out directly by name and say, what do you think about that? And I want to hear directly from them. You're on a team. How do you know when it's going bad? When they're unhappy with what's happening and you're not actually solving problems, you're just having people go along with you and not speaking out. You're no longer having debate. Well, the lack of debate is one of those ways you can know. But secondly, you want to look at their body language. When you are sitting and you're having a conversation and you're engaging and they're leaning in and they're intense and they're involved, their eyes are bright, you can tell they're engaged in the process. Sometimes even when they're quiet, you can tell they're intensely listening. They're writing notes, they're engaging. If they're playing on their cell phone, and so when someone picks up their cell phone, I have watched it so many times in meetings, you can tell someone's shutting down. They're avoiding whatever it is. It could be because of a fear of conflict. It could be because they're angry. It could be because they distrust you. It could be just because they're bored and you're wasting their time. High performers get bored very quickly. And so they will shut down and go do something else so that they can multitask so they can use their time effectively. And you'll lose them if you're not paying attention. There's another way you can tell. I have sat in meetings where I have watched people do this. Sometimes I have been in meetings where I have done this. When the person leading the meeting is losing their team members, you can tell because they shift their body noticeably away from the person speaking or leading the meeting. They turn and they focus on something else and they stop talking. That is one of the clearest evidences by body language that someone has shut down and you've lost them. What do you do next when that has happened and you are obviously losing the people? It depends on the setting. I mean, if you're at a big meeting and you're speaking up in front, that's going to look very differently than if you're in a small committee or a board meeting where you have somewhere between 5, 10. If you lose someone in a committee meeting, a small meeting, you can take a break and you can adjourn for a few minutes, take a 10-minute break for the bathroom, and you can, if you have a specific person that you've lost, you can talk to them during the break and engage them and find out what's happening. Sometimes you have to change the entire approach in the meeting of how you're approaching an issue. You play with people that are as good or better than you, especially when they're better than you. It inspires and challenges you and pushes you to a drive to do more, to be better, to think quicker and more effectively. And that's the same thing in leadership. It's the same thing in relationships. Surround yourself with good people, people that are making good decisions, people that have good character, people that follow through, people that have competence and confidence, people that will give you skills and add into your life the things that you're currently lacking. There's important steps in the comeback. That's part of your next decisions that are much more important than your last failure. The reality is everyone is bad when they start. That is the bottom line. It doesn't matter what you're starting, what you're doing, everyone is bad. And if you wait until you have the finely curated and polished, perfect presentation, your opportunities are going to pass you by. You're going to miss those moments and you're going to regret it. And then you're going to have to actually fine tune or polish something new to hit the market because things in the market have changed from that time. And many people continue to miss opportunities and keep hoping they're going to go forward with something and they don't ever get to the point of actually executing. Start today. It may look bad, but guess what? Someone might not listen to you. Someone might think it was a little funny. But in most cases, they give people the benefit of the doubt. They are willing to let people not be perfect. And honestly, it's like thinking of imperfections you have on your face or your arms or your neck. When we look in the mirror and see ourselves, we see every little imperfection and mark. But other people, when they actually look at us, and they're not looking for those things. They're engaging our whole person. They're looking at all of us. We may think we look fat or ugly or frumpy in our clothes, but other people aren't even taking that in. They don't even care. If you're just trying to contribute and add value to people's lives, they will walk away feeling like you've done something out of care and concern, and they will appreciate the value you are seeking to contribute to them.